Age. That would be the first thing I should do. Hi, people. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello. All right. Hi. Hello, good people. Out there in Instagram land. I'm running out of clips over here. Hi. So we actually came to talk about dry hair. My client wants to know what she should do for her hair when it feels dry. So first I'm gonna ask her some questions. All right, so when it feels dry, what does it actually feel like? Like what's going on when it feels dry?
For me, it feels itchy.
Itchy.
Like really itchy.
Really itchy. Okay, so then itching usually prompts you to scratch your head, right?
Right.
So when you scratch, does it feel painful when you scratch?
Sometimes.
Does it
feels better.
It feels better, like you relieved it. What about there's no like real pain, like blood or anything?
No.
Okay. So then is there ever something in your nail after you get done scratching?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of something.
A lot of something in your nail. Okay. That is exactly what it is then. Okay. So that's your answer. Okay. Because sometimes if the scalp is really dry, it'll feel tight. It'll feel painful when it feels dry. When it's dry, it feels painful. Like if you were to scratch it too hard, it might break. It might break, like the scalp might break because it's so tight and dry.
Right.
And it might bleed. But if you have something in your nail and it's not blood, that's the scalp. That's your scalp is alive and it's moving outward. So whatever you eat, drink, and everything eventually comes out some way. So usually, we got our normal waste systems, but our scalp, our skin is also part of the system that excretes, like sweat. Our skin makes its own oil. Our skin is constantly shedding skin cells, flaky skin cells. They're supposed to go up by unnoticed. But because your scalp is producing more oil than the rest of your skin typically, and because you have a tight curl, yours isn't very tight, but the tighter the curl, the harder it is for the oil that your scalp produces to travel down the strand of hair. So most of the time, the oil will sit, the oil that your scalp already makes will sit right at your scalp, right? So if it sits at your scalp and it's building up oil and then flakes are mixing with the oil, then that becomes like a substance that actually has to be removed off your scalp, right? And that's gonna be producing daily. So usually it's around 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks, where it starts to feel like too much.
Yes.
Right. Then it's itching like crazy. It's dirty, right? So that's what that dryness actually is. It's actually dirty and it's time to wash it because your scalp's been producing oil, it's been producing sweat, it's producing flakes, all on its own naturally, right? So what you want to do is remove that. Trying to put something on top of it like oils or anti-itch sprays and stuff really is just going to block any more that's being produced from coming out. So what you want to do is clean the scalp so that what's being produced naturally can have a freer chance to get removed. The more it's left to build up, the worse it gets. So
that makes sense.
Hi people. So if your scalp is feeling dry, right? And you're not supposed to shampoo your hair unless you're gonna twist it and dry it, right? But you're not trying to twist it and dry it yourself, right? But you're not ready to come see me yet. When your hair is locked, it's not all the way there yet. But when it is locked, then you can just take a cloth like this, whether it be wet, damp, or dry, and just clean your scalp like that. Clean the stuff off your scalp, because it's not moving down your hair, so your hair is still pretty clean. It's the scalp.
Right.
So if you keep the scalp clean in between time without having to wash it, then you can extend your retwist. So, what about dry hair though? Do you ever feel like your hair is dry?
Sometimes, yeah.
What does that look like?
Kind of what it looked like when I walked in.
So it's kind of, I guess I would say dull. It doesn't
Right.
look shiny like it does when you leave. What I think that look generally is, because it's not, I guess technically it's dry, right? Because the opposite of dry is wet. So it's not wet, right? Like it's wet right now. So you don't want to be walking around with wet hair all the time, right? So that's not the goal. So if that's not what we want, then dry hair is normal. right? Having dry hair.
Right.
But I guess what it would be more so of when it gets closer to getting it done is it's kind of stiff. It's a little dull. It's not very shiny. But then you got to think you've been walking around for, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks. You know, everywhere you go, there's a layer of dust floating in the air. I don't know. any house you go to, if you look at the sun coming in the window a certain direction, you always see dust just flying everywhere. That's everywhere, even though we don't see it most of the time. And so after 3 weeks, it's going to be getting on your hair, right? So some people would say, you know, add some oil to that. But to that, I would say, why would you want to put oil on top of dirt? That's nasty. So instead of putting oil on it, we're going to recognize that as evidence that it's time to wash our hair, right? And so the way that you can extend your retwist that way without getting that dusty look, you know, from being, you know, in places that are dusty and that layer of dust on your hair, is to keep it covered whenever you're somewhere where you don't have to have it out. Right? So if you know, got an event or a party, or you just out, or you at work and your hair has to be out, then your hair's not out. But when you go home, or you go and you're just chilling at your friend's house or whatever, cover it. Then whatever dust is floating around their house doesn't end up in your hair. You know what I mean? And then you can extend it, and you don't have to deal with that dry look, because it's not really dry, it's dirty. Both instances, really, it's not really dry, because, well, it is dry, because your hair should be dry. Wet is not a thing that most people walk around with wet hair. It's not a thing that you can even maintain naturally, because you'd have to be walking around with a spray bottle to keep your hair wet all the time. So dry is normal, you know, and we just need to realize what it is we're actually looking at, and what it is we're actually, hi people, what it is we're actually dealing with. And that's not dryness, it's typically dirty. So we just want to clean it on time and do things that minimize the amount of dirt that it gets, that it collects in between time, so that it lasts longer. And I hope that was helpful. Welcome. Thank you for joining my TED Talk. Yeah. I don't know, I hope I touched on everything, because I'm about to stop now. Hope you guys are having a great day. Later. How do I stop it?